Good evening and salutations, my GH friends. We'll start off with the Brooklyn and Lois scene because it gets to a point where, I've had this constant problem with soap operas, and I think most of y'all know what this is. And when we get there, I'll explain again why I have this problem and whatever. So at this point, Brooklyn wants answers because when that happened, it's like it's almost as though she had like this panic attack, like she had the wind literally knocked out of her, and she's like, "All right, you need to sit there and tell me everything from the beginning, because you got to sit there and understand this from Brooklyn's perspective. Like she's known Gio damn near all his life, all her life in a sense." And you have to sit there and think every time that she was with him, every time that she helped him, every time that she talked to him, you go back and you realize that she was talking to her sons. Like her whole reality with him, all that history is literally turned upside down. This is something that Lulu did. I'm gonna get to Lulu in a minute. So she explains. She says why she did it, as far as helping out and making sure that Gio went to a good home. That's her reasoning. Gio went to a good home. And I always knew that I always knew that he went to a good home. And I get that idea in theory. You lied. You didn't just lie. Like she said later on when they were about to go and find Gio, she was like, "You changed the plan. I specifically told you to do this, and you said, I don't like this idea, but I got one better." And she didn't even talk to her like she said. She didn't even bother to talk to her. She could have talked to her. They could have worked it out. But she didn't do that. And you literally, in a sense, betrayed your own daughter. And I understand where she's coming from on that end. My problem with this scene is when we get to Dante. See, I did a Beyond the Gates somewhat review, and shout out to 1 second. Shout out to Raymond. Shout out to Raymond. Um, because I was talking about Beyond the Gates, and one of the things he didn't like about the show is how they portray men. Like, you gotta sit there and read it. And I put it in the pinned comment for Beyond the Gates. Basically, Smith is saying that, it shows Vernon being this or showmen being very passive, right? For just history's sake, that's how sometimes they would sit there and show men in certain, like, Lifetime movies, which is why I never used to like old school Lifetime movies, because they always came across as super abusive. But in these soap operas, most of them come across as very passive and no backbone whatsoever. It's like being masculine is a crime. So he walks up and he talks to Brooklyn. And I gotta be honest, his reaction is just straight up disappointing. Okay? He seemed like he had more of a reaction towards Gio with the whole Rocco thing, even though it wasn't Gio's fault, than he does with Brooklyn. He's just like, what happened? And, she tells him her story and why she did what she did. And he's just like, the only thing he says is, well, you took out, I would have been mad. You thought I would have shamed you? Wait, that's it? So yeah, her excuses is her excuses. She was young and dumb and scared and blah 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 blah. You find out that you missed out on years with your son, okay? Because she decided to make the choice for you that she was just going to give away the baby. They didn't even bother to include you into the conversation. And that's your reaction is, you thought I was going to shame you? You didn't have that same reaction with Gio, which he didn't even actually do anything. So yes. To say I was disappointed is uh, yeah. But then he's like, listen, we got to get into this. But he's like, right now we got to find Gio. Lulu. I don't know if this chick got rocks or brains or does she just genuinely believe in her own bullshit. Okay? Because she, for 30 something minutes, she keeps it the same, but the truth is out. Dante knows. And his life is going to be for the better eventually. Cody's like, yeah, I can see how we kind of messed up. Like, he realized that he got caught up in the moment with his experience and how things went for him with the Scorpios and everything with Mac. And he's like, seeing him on that stage and just broken. And she's like, yeah, I feel bad, but, you know, it's going to work out for the better, right? And see, she asked this question like I did a good thing, right? Right? You're gonna tell me that again. You know how many times she sits there and keeps asking, like, but everything's gonna work out and it's gonna be good, right? Like she's waiting for some sort of assurance that she did something that her fuck up is somehow going to be beneficial. Oh, I didn't like how it happened, but the truth is out. You just watched this man literally break down in front of a full stage of people, and you're still talking about how what you did was the right thing to do. So you got that going on. Now, you saw the clip from the video yesterday. And the members, you saw the clip when I went up doing the live stream. So Michael pretty much kind of takes Mike Wiley, and Drew and Willow go after them, and Jason's like, I don't think that's a good idea. And he says that to Willow. I'm like, oh, what's gonna happen if what are you gonna do? You're gonna punch her in the face or something? Like, what do you mean that's not gonna be a good idea? What kind of veiled threat is that? And part of me is kind of just like, Drew, he's not exactly stopping you. You can literally sit there and just take care of him, or at least deal with him, and this way Willow can sit there and go after Michael. Instead, they just kind of stand there like, oh my god, I'm so scared. Like, he's blocking both of us. I don't know if we can both get, like, I kind of stood there, was like, y'all two are still here? But then everybody comes in, and I think eventually Willow leaves, and Nina's like, oh, well, I got you and everything like that, and Jocelyn, and everyone leaves except for Sonny. Because she asked Sonny to sit there instead. And she's like, well, can't you talk to Michael because, you know, um, try to give him the compromise. That's what she said. She was like, try to get him to compromise. Let me tell you something. Willow literally said that she's past compromising, and she gave Michael like the worst schedule as far as trying to visit his kids. Which, by the way, she didn't just give him that schedule, but she also took advice from Drew on how much that this man should sit there and see his kids. But you want to sit there and talk to Sonny about how Michael should compromise? Oh wow, you like Nina, you really are on something. You really are on something. Nah, bro, we past compromising at this point, and I think Michael is past compromising. Okay, because remember not that long ago when everything went down and Michael wanted to go there to pick up the kids. Willow sat there and played the sympathy card. She played the mother card. She played on Michael's emotions. She played on the fact that Michael is a good person, that good guy. She played on his emotions. And this time, Michael wasn't having it. And I said in my review, I was like, this is the Michael that I want to see. Okay? A guy who still keeps his core principles, but doesn't allow people to sit there and take advantage of his kindness. Because that's what happens in life. You're nice and people take advantage of that. Now, he ain't being Mr. Nice Guy at this point. And of course, Sonny's like, hey, listen, Willow gets rid of Drew, we could sit there and talk. Until then, it is what it is. Now, there's not really much to say about the whole Trina and Kai thing, except for they talk for a little bit, they talk about Spencer, and then they do the Devil's Tango. The end. I wish I could sit there and add more to Trina. I didn't really care that much. I mean, it wasn't terrible. I'm just not invested. I'm not invested into Kai. I felt like Kai again is just there for Trina. And although people could sit there and say, it's a nice moment, Trina sat there letting down the guard and everything. Um, really sat there telling him why she was nervous about the surgery. She was nervous about falling for him and everything like that. And we can understand on that front. This still just seems like this whole setup to even get there. The fact that she didn't even have a story until they decided to give her a boyfriend, right? She didn't have a story until they decided to give her a boyfriend. And then the boyfriend that they gave her wasn't even developed. Like seriously, I just you know it's something I could sit there and say, but I think I'll save that for the members for reasons. And Ned comes out, and Ned gives gives Lois like the death stare because he is just you know. Now Gio comes back and he's about to get his stuff and get ready to leave, and Emma agrees to go with him. And then Tracy comes in, and long story short, he tells Tracy everything. And there's one point where Emma's like, well, listen, we got to sit there and go, but I'll call you, let you know how he's doing. And Tracy's like, no, 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 no. Listen, I like you, but you need to sit there and zip it right now. And I think that's probably the nicest that she's actually been. Now, here's my thing with Tracy, right? Because she's trying to get Gio to stay. And she talks about family, she talks about his great grandparents and everything like that. I didn't like the fact that Gio was like, oh, y'all are a bunch of liars or whatever, like lashing out at them because prior before that, he was like, I get it, this isn't your fault. But here's my thing now. I get where Tracy's trying to come from. The problem is that this just happened. And Gio needs time to sit there and process this. And Tracy just practically, I don't want to sit there and say trauma dumps, but she practically is just like, well, here's the reasons why you need to stay. Here's the reasons why this. Here's the reasons why that. We're your family. Don't push us away. This just happened. Okay? Like, you're not even giving this man time to breathe. And even before then, then you have Dante and Brooklyn coming in. Now, Brooklyn, I can see him being upset. Because in his eyes, when you give up a child and they find you years later on, that's what they're going to sit there and think. So I get him being upset with her. Dante, on the other hand, he had no idea. And I saw in the previews, and he's still coming across as passive, and it's just like, wow, okay, this is like this is the way that we're going. Passive Dante. Um. Oh, and then there's some scenes with Sasha. There's some scenes with Sasha after Michael talks to Wiley, and one of the things he does sit there and says, listen, me being back doesn't change anything. Like, it's still what it is. If you don't want me to be part of the child's life, I understand that, unless you change your mind. Now, ultimately, this whole, oh, well, protecting the baby and blah, 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 blah from your father's enemies is not going to really matter because the truth is going to come out. And then when the truth comes out, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can't, what I'm saying? Like to sit there and say, oh, I don't want this child to be a part of your life, which I understand it on one end, but the other part of it just kind of bothers me. Once that stuff comes out, it's public knowledge. So that whole, oh, we gotta sit there and make sure nothing happens to you. Trust me, if they want to find your child, they're gonna find your child. Hell, I think even if it didn't come out publicly, they would find a way to find that child. Um, yeah. Oh, Willow and Drew report Mac. Willow and Drew go to Mac and report Jason for kidnapping. See, the thing is, just because Michael told him to go pick up Amelia doesn't really matter. Because in the eyes of the law, that's still kidnapping as far as because Willow didn't agree to that. Now it's one thing if Michael went, he picked up that child. Cool, fine. But not Jason. That's not your child. So if they decide to press charges, oh well. Now, I feel like that's pretty much about it. I can't think of anything else, but I will be snuck there doing a live stream tonight. I want to sit there and say, well, I think realistically it's going to be 9 o'clock. But I'm going to try to make it at 8, or at least 8:30. Just check the community tab. Check the community tab because I always sit there and post what time I'm going to be streaming and coming in. And we'll sit there and talk about all 5 of the soap operas and anything else that I missed. And I will see you in the next video.